Welcome to Whippoorwill Holler. I'm Miss Lori and this is Mr. Brown. We live in the hills of Arkansas. We love the Lord. Keepers of the old way, but accept some of the new. We love to cook and we love to eat. We love to garden. It's in our blood. It's how we stay sustainable and fill our pantry. We do a lot of canning and preserving. We live a sustainable life. We love our family. We work hard. And every once in a while, we like to dance. So y'all join us. What are you doing, Paul?
Well, I'm getting my potatoes ready to plant. We're going to plant, I guess, mostly yellow potatoes, or this year we're going to plant Yukon Gold and Kennebec. And your potatoes come, seed potatoes, they start and sprout, and you can see them there. I've got sprouts coming out of them. This one has quite a few. Some people plant a whole potato. I've never done it that way. I cut them in sections to where the eye will lay flat, if you want the sprout that's coming out of the potato to stick up, to come up. So what I normally do is just kind of look at the potato and decide how I want to cut it. Sometimes you may get two on one piece. This one right here, I'm going to put two. When I lay that potato in the ground, I lay it down in the ground like that so that the sprouts will be sticking up.
We didn't make our own seed potatoes this year. We bought these from a farm store in town. And
we planted all red potatoes last year.
Yeah. Our potatoes do pretty good when we store them underneath the house. It's dark under there and it stays pretty cool. And then during the wintertime, it stays just warm enough for them not to freeze.
New tiller. I don't use a tiller that much, but when this old man got out here and started trying to dig all this up by shovel, I decided I was going to get a tiller. This is a Earthquake. It has its rear tine and it rotates the opposite direction from where it pulls. It's got self-pulling wheels. It's a 209cc engine. As you see, it's got reverse, which is very handy if you want to turn around at the end of your row or turn it back up, whatever you want to do, or if it's constantly spinning opposite the way it's pulling. So
if you got trash and stuff, it's going to want to build up sometime. And you can pick the handle up. It's easy to pick up, pull that lever back, and she's going to walk backwards. Then you can push this down, she'll start walking forward, and you can drop it back down and go ahead and go. I bought this tiller at Jim's Saw Shop. It's just north out of Pocahontas, Arkansas, on Highway 115. Highway 115 going toward Maynard, Arkansas. Now this tiller brand is all over the country. There's a lot of places sell it. There's a lot of big package stores that sell it. I've known this saw shop all my life. Jim's no longer alive, but his family, Jason, is running the saw shop nowadays. And I believe when you can, you go support your local small businesses. I try to support them before I do the big box office, and that's just the way to keep a local shop in business. You might pay a little more money than you would at a big box store, and I'm not knocking big box stores, don't get me wrong. I just like supporting your local business when you can. You might pay a little more money, but if you can do it and help your local business. He also sells chainsaws. He works on chainsaws. He also sells lawnmowers, and he also works on lawnmowers. And I know that there's some of you that live around the area, and if you get the opportunity to give a local business some support. I'm not sponsored by him in no way. He don't sponsor me or nothing else. I'm not sponsored by Earthquake. He sells Troy built, and he sells these Earthquakes. And I just want to try this one. So if you can, support your local business. Okay, so we're fixing to plant some Yukon potatoes and some kitty bags. And the wind's really loud, so I don't know how this film's going to work out. It may seem like I'm yelling sometimes. It's a beautiful day, but the wind's bright. I mean, the sun's bright, but the wind's blowing hard. So I've got this row where I'm going to put my potatoes. I have took and dug about 4-inch deep holes, about 15 inches apart. They don't have to be perfect. You can put them a little further. You could actually probably put them a little closer. You might put them a foot apart if you don't have a large growing area. In times past, when I had a big mound here, I like to grow potatoes in a big mound. And this last year, I planted 2 rows of potatoes in this right here. And I had old sawdust and different things, and you can see that it's turned black. The worms was in here last year heavy, and they really composted this dirt up. We're going to bury them about 4 inches deep. You could bury them a little deeper than 4 inches, not a lot. I'm going to put them first about 4 inches deep, and then I'm going to cover them, and then I'm going to come back and put it probably about another inch or 2 above it. And that being, when it rains, it's going to settle down to about 4 inches deep. And I have planted them 6 inches deep, and I've planted them 8 inches deep. They will come up when things get right. The biggest thing about potatoes is your soil. You need to have a loose soil. You can see this soil here is loose. It's really turning into a good soil. You need a good soil, loose if possible. You can grow potatoes in barrels, half barrels, containers. You can grow them. We've took old tars. When I was a kid, my dad and we would stack old car tars, plant them in a couple of stacks of tars, and every time they get up so tall above that tar, we put a tar on it. for so long. Potato only needs to grow so tall, and then it needs to get to concentrating on making potatoes. So you don't want to just keep growing up potato and growing up potato. But we'd put dirt in around, fill that tar in, put dirt around, and let it grow up about 3 foot tall. And your potato needs to start thinking about making potatoes, and it needs to bloom. It don't need to worry about growing upward anymore. Everybody grows potatoes different. Some people plant potatoes. Some people plant whole potatoes. Some people take and cut them in half. I take them about like this right here. You see that eye, and these are Yukon Golds. And we're going to take that eye and we're going to set it down in this hole with the eye up. I'm going to push it down in there, firm it up just a little bit, and then we're going to cover it. And after I get all the dirt on it, then I will level my row out a little bit, and then I will take wheat straw. We got some wheat straw right here, and I'm going to cover wheat straw over the top of it, and I'm going to put quite a bit on the edges of wheat straw to hopefully keep some of this Bermuda grass down. Plus, as the potato gets up taller, I'm going to rake some of that straw in there to it. That straw will help keep your moisture in. It will also help if you have hard rains to keep from compacting your soil as much. And a tip on this wheat straw, I don't know, last year it was going for $5 or $6 a bale. I gathered up my wheat straw after the end of Halloween. A lot of people buy wheat straw, set it on their porches or wherever. Some of the banks do it and set it outside. And I volunteer to get rid of it for them. And that's how I gathered up this straw. There's ways to get that straw without paying top dollar for it. Or if you just got friends or neighbors that put out fall decorations and use wheat straw. A lot of people in this area do it. And I got dry. I actually got a lot of this up there at school where I work, because they used it for decorations and I gathered it up. I have got it before from a few banks around that put it out there. Now, if they got it sitting outside and you had very much rain, they're going to be heavy. They're going to weigh 100 pounds plus, so they get heavy if they've been outside, but that don't hurt them none. They'll still work fine. And you can grow potatoes. I've seen potatoes grow just in straw with a little bit of dirt, a little bit of soil, and a little bit, and grow them in straw. 5 pounds of potatoes, of seed potatoes, will sometimes could make you 50 pounds. In ideal conditions, it could make you 75 pounds. So I've got my grandkids here, and I'm going to teach them how to plant potatoes, and I'm going to have them fill these up, and I'm going to cover them up, and we'll show you what it looks like when we get done. Something that I forgot to mention a while ago, I got a little bit of triple 13. You can use triple 10. I usually use triple 13. Just a little bit of fertilizer. I prefer going organic with everything I can, but I put just a little bit. This is pretty good ground. It would probably do all right, but I prefer to make sure. If your ground's poor, you might have to put a little more fertilizer. And I put it down here in this. I put it down here in the bottom of these holes, and I just put just enough to kind of cover the, like you was peppering an egg and putting a lot of pepper on it. I don't put handfuls. I put just enough in there, just kind of cover the bottom of the hole. And then I'll take my hole, and then I'll just kind of work this down in there. You don't really want your potato to start growing right off the bat and be stuck in that hot fertilizer. So you just mix that fertilizer in. I mix it in. Then I'll put my potato in there. And you can actually take your handle of your hoe, or you can take your hand and just kind of stir it around like that right there. You just don't want that potato necessarily when it first starts growing to be right on. You want it after it grows a while to start getting hold of that fertilizer. I've still got rocks in my garden. You can see the pile right here. Some of them I use for in-row markers, the big ones, but as many years as I've been digging, working this ground out here, I've still got rocks. Another thing, a problem that I've run into with this garden is Bermuda grass. And you may see it down through there sticking out. After my rose quit growing last year, I didn't come in here and till it up and keep it worked up. And then I messed up. I should have come in here and kept it worked up. This Bermuda grass got down in these rows, and I had, just to get 4 or 5 rows plowed the other day, I had to stop it at the end of each row and cut this off my tiller tine. And down there where your tines rotate, it's got a gear case. It's got seals in it, and you don't want to just leave stuff wrapped around it and just leave it and let it build up. It gets tighter and tighter and tighter around that shaft, and it starts getting hot, and it could cause your seal to go bad and start leaking. And same way up around the front pull of your wheels. It didn't get wrapped around it very bad, but this stuff's a mess. I've got a major problem in this garden with Bermuda grass, and I don't want to, but I'm probably going to have to spray and try to kill it. And I'll wait till my crop's out, and I won't spray right in my rows. I'll spray around the edges. I don't like the idea of chemical in the rows, and if I have to, I'll spray it and let it sit a whole year. I don't want to have to do that, but I may have to, because it's beginning to be a really problem. So we're going to get this row of potatoes fertilized and planted, and we'll show what it looks like here in a few minutes. Well, I got a couple of rows of potatoes planted today. It's getting late in the afternoon. Got them planted. I got wheat straw over them. These rows are about roughly 36 feet long. Took just a little over a bale of wheat straw to do both them rows. And I will come back later and put some more on there. For right now, that's all I'm going to put on there. I usually plant my potatoes toward the last of February or the first week or so of March. And we've had some pretty weather, and I decided to go ahead and try to get some in the ground. We're supposed to have some rain coming and possibly some cold weather, cooler weather. I'm sure we're going to have some cool weather. One of the biggest snows I've ever seen in my life came in this country in March. My dad told me that years ago, back in his days, which would have been, oh, it ain't gonna be close, it's gonna be 100 years ago. He passed away when he was 84, and he's been going over, time gets away from me, I think around 12 years. I'd have to double think that, but he'd have been in his upper 90s, middle upper 90s. Born in 1925. But he told me that they used to plow furrows, them potatoes, in early February. And then they would plow dirt up on top of them a little bit to make a little hump out there. And he said they would check it. And when they started having potatoes before they break the surface, they would drag and they were probably using a horse at that time. They would drag a piece of timber, square wood, some type of a drag, and they would knock them mounds down. And then potatoes would come on up. And when they got up, they would come back in there as they got up and going, and they would roll and plow dirt and pull dirt up to the edge of them. And I've done that a lot of times also. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't put quite as much effort into it anymore because I seem like I can grow plenty of potatoes the way I grow them. I hope to make at least 100 pounds off these 2 rows, and I could make 150 pounds. We'll see what the weather does and how to do. I really prefer to have a bigger mound of dirt and kind of grow them up off instead of so much in the ground. But having them in the ground, they'll hold moisture longer. If you got them up in a raised bed, or if you got them up to the surface of the ground, piled in 12 inches of soil, they dry out faster. So I decided to go ahead and just put them back in the ground. I've got good dirt there, and good conditioned dirt. It shouldn't pack tight, real tight, and we'll see how they do. I'd had a lot of people ask about how I did my potatoes, so now you know. I'm sure people's gonna say, you don't do potatoes like that, or that ain't the way you do potatoes. Well, it works for me, and it's not super hard. Potatoes aren't hard to grow, and boy, they sure are good when they're homegrown out of your own garden. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. We don't know what we'll be doing around here, but we're going to be doing something. We got a pretty sunset this afternoon. Pond's down there. Pond's leaking water. I was afraid it would. I keep hoping it's going to seal. I'm fixing to spend a couple of days fishing before the weather gets bad again. Until next time, God bless everybody.